Well, I'm sitting down here with Jeff Lewis that just wrapped up his speaking engagement. How do you think it went?
Well, I think it went pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you were great.
I mean, I felt good about it. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody in it, but I don't think anybody fell asleep. That was a good sign.
Definitely.
And I don't think anybody left.
So when people come to hear you speak, what do you want them to take away from it?
I think that's why I have all this information, because I have years worth of experience and I've made so many mistakes. So I think what happens is when someone asks me a question, it's almost like sometimes I have 5 or 6 answers, because I just want these people to if I could help anyone from making the same mistakes I did, then I think that's my mission. Like I try to, maybe I overload people with information, but it's just me wanting to kind of guide people.
Yeah. Well, in this industry, you can't have too much information. You mentioned that educating yourself, you have to constantly be educating yourself.
Yeah.
When you first got involved in real estate, how did you educate yourself?
God, it was, you know what? I had actually aligned myself with a real estate agent who was giving me access to the MLS. Because it was different then than it is now. I mean, now you can get online, there's all kinds of websites where you can go and you can look at comps, but then you couldn't. The only comps that I could find were really from the multiple listing service, and so fortunately I had kind of an in with that. But then I think that goes to with determination. Like when you really want something, you figure out a way to make it happen. And I really wanted this, and there was something, I felt very uncomfortable about just relying on one person's information. I had to do my own research. So fortunately, I had access to the multiple listing service.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, as an investor, you really got to do the groundwork. You can't just rely on someone else. Like, you need to know exactly what you're getting involved in.
Oh, absolutely. I think you have to drive the neighborhoods. I think you have to look at all the comps. I think that second something comes on the market, I think you have to go look at it and see, what it's about and how does it compare to what's already sold.
What kind of advice would you give to students who are, graduating from college or wanting to get into this industry? Because now they see it on TV and they think that it's so easy.
Well, one of the first houses that I purchased, which was in Orange County, and I want to say I was 24, 25 years old. I didn't have any money whatsoever. But I had literally, when we talk about doing the research, I had put together almost a presentation on a property that I had found, and I didn't have the money to buy it. And I was working at a finance company at the time, and I went to my boss, who was actually was overwhelmed by all my research and my knowledge on this particular neighborhood and property, and he actually put up the money for the first house that I purchased. And so a lot of people graduating, they've got student loans, they still have expenses, they've got credit card debt. You don't necessarily have the money, the access to cash. So more than likely, which is why I was saying that out there, is you're going to be partnering with somebody, or you're going to have an investor. And so I think as long as you could really present a good solid case, I know that if somebody came to me today and said, I need X amount of money, and here is the 17 pages of why I think this is the deal. Not only would I look at it, I would potentially put up the money for it.
Yeah, well, that's a business plan that you're basically describing.
There's a lot of people like me out there that would want to invest their capital.
Yeah. So your main focus is up in LA. What's your favorite neighborhood to do work in?
That's a good question. I mean, it's kind of fun because we brush up against the entertainment industry in our business. So it's kind of fun working in Hollywood, and you never know who's going to show up and look at your house, or you never know whose house you're looking at. And I've been in a lot of celebrity homes, and it's so interesting to see how they live. And so I think it's kind of fun. I think working in Hollywood is really fun.
Hollywood specifically, just like Hollywood Hills area?
Well, of course, yeah, like Sunset Strip or Beverly Hills Post Office. As you know, being from LA, there's all these different little suburbs of Los Angeles.
And I was actually going to ask you, what do you think is like the next up and coming, like hottest neighborhood that people need to get, their hands on if they can?
Well, the neighborhood where I bought, which is Los Feliz, because there is so much development going on in Hollywood, and you'd have to know the suburbs, but I believe Los Feliz, Silver Lake are two really hot areas right now.
What have you noticed that buyers always want in a house? Whether you flipped it, whether they are just going to an open house, whether it's like an appliance or something in the backyard, like that one thing that they always are going to want.
Well, I think a lot of buyers today, they don't want to do any work, period. And there's so many people that are out there, in their careers, they're working 50, 60 hours a week, they're working weekends, they don't have time, which is why there's such a, there's such a place for house flippers out there. There's such a market for it because there really is a lot of people that don't want to do the work. But that said, they want open kitchens and islands, and they want the stainless steel appliances, and it's interesting, this whole industrial trend, and then the reclaimed wood, and there's a lot of things that I think people are drawn to. But my market is different than someone else's market because we have such beautiful weather in California, so people want to bring the outdoors in. So we create a lot of different little outdoor areas, which we call it selling like stories or vignettes, or because anytime that you can get that additional square footage by doing outdoor space, which we do a lot of now, in essence, it makes you feel like your home is bigger than it is.
It's hard to get outdoor space in LA, when you come from, anywhere else in the country, you have this like acres and acres, but back in LA, it's tough to come by.
It is.
So on your shows, it really explores your OCD tendencies and things. When you're flipping a house, have you ever experienced a house where it's just like way too disgusting? Like you don't want to go anywhere near that, even though you see the potential in it?
There's very few homes that I've seen it all. At this point, I've seen it all. There's nothing that really scares me at this point. It's just, again, like I talked about, in the speaking engagement, which was if something that is going to hinder my resale, which has to do with maybe neighborhood, or maybe I'm in, maybe I've got airplanes flying over the house constantly all day long, anything like that. But I've seen it all.